on the News Channel 5 network. This is Open Line.
Hello everyone, welcome to Open Line. Look, we got a full house because we have a very interesting show. This can be a very tough time of year for people who have experienced loss in any way, but especially loss through violent crime. And what we're going to be talking about tonight is Tennessee's Season to Remember, 15th annual Season to Remember. We have with us Tina Fox, who is the Director of Victim Services for the Tennessee Board of Parole. Thank you for being here.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And then also Delores and Phillip Robinson. You all are going to share your story, which I've just talked to you for a few moments here before. It's remarkable. And so thank you both for being here.
Thanks for letting us be here.
So let's start first with you, Tina. Season to Remember, give us the overview, the 101 on it.
Tennessee Season to Remember is an annual event that is hosted by Governor Haslam each year. Each victim will have an opportunity to come and hang an ornament on behalf of their loved one. And the significance of that ornament is that each ornament is a person's life, a person's death, and a person's legacy. And we remember and we honor those victims who were taken away from us so tragically and so senselessly. This is our 15th year of honoring and remembering crime victims, and we want the public to know the importance of what we do on a day-to-day basis as it relates to homicide victims.
So every homicide victim in the state has the opportunity to participate, a family member of that homicide victim. Is that right?
That is correct, yes, sir.
And so how many, like last year, how many participated? How many do you expect this year?
Last year we had about 400. That includes staff members. We are anticipating about 500 this year as well. Obviously, crime is prevalent, and so the numbers increase, unfortunately. But we try to be a bright spot in the midst of so much turmoil by having an event where family members can come and again remember and honor their loved ones.
And there we see some video from the event, or at least pictures from the event recently here. What have you found? What does it mean to people that participate in this?
It means that victims, family members are not walking the journey alone. Every year we hear victims, family members say to us, wow, I did not realize that so many other people were walking this journey. I thought I was the only one. I felt isolated. I felt alone. There's so much comfort in knowing that they have a network of persons who understand, who can clearly identify what they're going through.
And many people feel like they're in it alone. With hundreds there, it must be very powerful. Do you see people year after year, or is it generally new people every year? What do you see?
This is the 15th annual, and we have had a consistent flow of those persons who have come almost every year. We do have newcomers. I remember distinctly a young woman from last year who was just sobbing. That was her first time coming. She was inundated with fresh grief, raw feelings, raw emotions, because the incident was so new to her. And so we have victims, family members from 15 years to their first year who attend, but they all walk away with an appreciation for what we do for them on a day-to-day basis.
And as we go on, we'll talk more about just some of the details, but Delores and Phillip, I want to thank you all again for being here and ask you to tell us your story. So Delores, it was your husband was murdered,
That's
right?
That's correct.
When did that happen?
In 1986. And he was coming back from the bank, and we had this rather large store on Memorial. And the man behind him chased him down, one of the criminals chased him down the sidewalk, telling him to drop this money. And my husband did not drop the money. And anyway, so it ended up with mine getting shot. But the man got away, and he had an accomplice that was sitting in the truck they had stolen. And anyway, and this, as I said, was in 1986. And so, but now, after all these years, Phillip and I have forgiven these people, and we've been to 2 parole hearings recently, and it has been a really interesting experience just going through the parole hearings. And we appreciated so much Miss Fox being there, because she was such a comfort and such a help to us during this time.
That's what I think is so remarkable about your story. You've forgiven
Yes.
the people that did this. So, Phillip, this was your dad, right? How old were you when this happened?
I was 30 when he was shot and killed.
And how quickly did they find the people and arrest them?
Well, we were very fortunate. They had stolen a truck and the hot wire had fallen off of it, so the truck stalled out and died within a couple blocks of the grocery store where this happened. And so they were on foot, and one of them was picked up that night, found wandering, and he had to cross a sinking creek, and so he was wet, and so the police had this nice perimeter set up around the scene of the crime. We learned a lot about that we wish we never had known, and so the fact that the truck stalled out really led to them being caught and then eventually convicted.
And this was in 1986 in Murfreesboro.
Correct.
What did you think when you heard this? I mean, how shocking was it?
Terribly. It was an experience that I don't wish on anyone. And because he had just been home to eat a meal. And so in less than an hour from the time he left my house, our house, where we had lived, actually we'd been married for 35 years. And so I was just devastated when Phillip called and told me that this, about the murder at the front of the store there. And actually, this was a real high-profile crime, because everybody, my husband's father had been in a store in Murfreesboro for years, so everybody knew them. And this is where I really appreciate the hearings that we've been through, because, and this victims program that Tina was talking about a while ago, they kept me informed over the years. Right after all this happened, and they were sent to their Northeast Correctional Facility, I received the papers to fill out, and then all these years I was notified through this victims' rights program, and they had given me an ID number, and then they had given on this paper that I filled out. You mark if you want to be told about the parole hearings and all the things that were down the road. We never had experienced anything like this. So this was all new territory for us.
Right.
But the reason I'm so glad I knew through this program where these 2 men were incarcerated, because people would stop me for years in stores or in mall, anywhere I would be. They would come up to me and say, Miss Robinson, where are the 2 men that killed your husband? And I could tell them, thanks to the program, that I knew right where, because I checked on them. They had given me a number that I could call, so I checked frequently. And so I knew exactly where these 2 men were. I felt kind of bad if they'd asked me, and I said, I don't know.
Right.
So it worked out beautifully, and that's just why I can't say enough nice things to the people that's just lost loved ones. That what a wonderful program that the Victims' Right program and all the correctional facility, all the things that they have done for us over these 30 years.
Now, he was caught quickly.
Oh, yeah.
What was the sentence?
Life and 35 years for the robbery and a few years for joyriding.
But with parole.
With parole possibility, but it was a life sentence for first-degree murder.
And at the time, did you think that was, what did you think about that?
Well, I had a friend who worked in the parole department, and I asked him, and he said probably about 35 years. They'll serve around 35 years, and he was pretty close. Pretty close.
But what's remarkable to me, again, the forgiveness aspect of this. This takes us beyond even the season to remember. But you have made a decision to say to the parole board, we forgive. And did you actually want the person are both people released, or what did you do here?
Yes, we both spoke on behalf of their being released. In 2007, Ron Hammer, the guy who shot my dad, wrote a letter to my mom asking for forgiveness and really admitting for the first time that he was the one that had shot my dad. When the case was tried, the prosecution put the gun in his co-partner's hands. So it was a bit stunning to learn that the gun was in the wrong hand all these years. For 20 years, we had the wrong person shooting the gun. But in his letter, Ron just sincerely asked for forgiveness, realizing that's something that was probably not going to happen. And I wrote him a short letter back, this was in '07, saying that because I was a Christ follower and because I'd been forgiven much, that I forgave him. And we began to exchange letters back and forth, probably about the rate of once a month. And so we began to encourage one another. His dad died during that time, and so we were able to talk about the joint pain and the shared pain that we had as a result of both guys dealing with the death of a dad. So.
And what did you think when you got that letter?
Actually, when I got the letter, I read it, and in this letter, Ron was talking about how badly that he had felt about what he had done, and that it was haunting him. It seemed like Mr. Robinson was everywhere he went, that Mr. Robinson was there, and that he just felt like maybe if he would confess that he had done this, because all during the trial they didn't say anything. And so this was the first time, and that we even knew that how this crime had really, how it all had happened. And so I called my son immediately, and he came and got the letter and read it. And so as time went on, the forgiveness part became much easier, really. Hatred or not, well, I guess I wouldn't call it hatred, but a dislike for this person. And but that just kind of eats away with you. And then the forgiveness part has just been wonderful. I know people at the mall where I walk would ask me how I was going to feel when these two men got out, because they knew that we were for them getting out. And I said, I really feel like I'll be fine. I feel like I'll be relieved, and I really was.
You were relieved when they got out?
Relieved that they were out, yes. And it was actually, you get this sense of, well, it was interesting at the parole hearings, because the board member that were hearing these, I think they were in total shock that we were there to forgive them. And because Ms. Fox had told me that most times when people come to these things that they're saying lock them up and keep them forever.
I'm sure.
And I had told her, I said, well, we're not going to be like that my son and I are actually for them getting out on parole. So we went through 2 hearings with the first one, the Ron Hammer, and then 2 with the last one, Steve Cogger, which he just got out last week, Steve did.
Just last week?
Just last week he got out, after being there for longer than the other one, over 30 years.
My goodness. All right. I have a lot of questions. We have to take a break. If you want to call in, there's the number, 615-737-12, 615-737-7587. We'll take a break. We'll continue the discussion, a season to remember, and also this remarkable story here from the Robinsons. Take a break. Be back right after this.